What's up, guys? Igor Hernandez here. I'm one of the attorneys at Cornish, Hernandez and Gonzalez, where I practice injury law and first-party homeowner property claims. And today I want to talk to you about something called tort reform and why tort reform is such a terrible thing and why tort reform is something that's pushed onto the people through media campaigns and advertising, and it's something that happens through lobbying in the legislatures of every state in the United States. And the goal is to basically allow corporations to kill people and to hurt people and do so in a way that the corporations remain profitable. So let's talk about that for a second. Tort reform is something that's been going on for probably well over 100 years in the United States. And it's a phrase that is set to mean, or the meaning of the phrase is basically to reduce the compensation that injury victims are entitled to in a court of law. So what do I mean by that? Somebody hurts somebody, somebody kills somebody, somebody via their negligence causes catastrophic injuries. The companies on the other side, which are usually the parties responsible for these catastrophic injuries or deaths, are saying, whoa, wait a second. We're having a hard time staying in business. Every time we kill 2 people a year, that's millions of dollars, and we shouldn't be paying millions of dollars just because we killed a couple of people a year. I mean, come on, who doesn't kill a couple of people every year in the course of doing business through their negligence, right? So we can't stay in business. We need politicians to step in to help us out. We need politicians to stop these bad plaintiff lawyers from shutting down our businesses just because we happen to kill 2 or 3 people every year. I mean, come on now, we got to do business, right? This is the United States of America, And so that's literally what it is. I know it sounds like I'm making fun of it. That is the reality of tort reform. The reality of tort reform is corporations do not want to pay significant money awards every time that through their negligence they injured, maim, or kill somebody. And so what they do is, and the trucking lobby is well known for this kind of stuff. If you think about the trucking lobby, trucking industry as a whole, they kill about 5,000 people every year. So any given year, the trucking industry, just the trucking industry, we're not talking the oil and gas, we're not talking, shipping, we're not talking, shipping, maritime shipping, we're not talking, planes, we're talking just the trucking industry. They kill 5,000 people every year, right? So what do? Instead of saying, you know what, we got to stop killing people, we got to train our drivers better, we got to spend more money to make sure our drivers are properly trained on the hazards of the road. We have to give our drivers better incentives so that they don't feel like they need to drive 18-hour days. We got to give our drivers better training so that they can understand when they are fatigued, and they can understand that they should not be on the road when they are fatigued. We have to change our business model so that instead of forcing our drivers to drive pretty much every single second allowed by the motor vehicle safety carrier regulations, the federal regulations that dictate when truckers can drive and how often they have to rest and stuff like that. Instead of doing that, instead of spending that money, instead of changing our business model to make the road safer so that we don't kill 5,000 people every day, I got a better idea. Let's just go ahead and spend a ton of money in Congress to lobby Congress of every state, meaning the Senate and the House of every state, and have the Senate and the House of every state reduce through legislation the amount of money that we're exposed to, right? So they'll go to the Senate, let's say like in Florida, they'll go to the Senate or they go to the House and say, you know what, guys, it's pretty terrible. Those plaintiff lawyers are out here taking all our money. Every time we kill somebody, these guys come out and they want $5 million or $6 million just because we killed somebody. That's not right. We're on the verge of closing down our business. We're on the verge of having to charge a lot of money to the customers, all because the bad plaintiff lawyers, they want all this money every time we murder somebody, basically. Not murdered because it's negligent, but you get the point. And so they go to the Congress, and the Congress, if they are the right makeup for the job, the Congress will say, great, I agree with you. Let's pass some legislation that will limit the amount of money that people can get. So they'll pass legislation. They'll pass legislation that says, no, if the plaintiff was any degree at fault for the crash, then they get nothing. So if the trucking company, for example, is 99% at fault, they did everything wrong, but the plaintiff I don't know, didn't have its lights on or something like that, or the plaintiff moved into the lane a little too fast, for the conditions, then the plaintiff who died gets nothing because they were 1% at fault for the crash. And there are states where this has happened. There are states where contributory negligence is the scheme. And if you have contributory negligence, then any degree of fault means you don't recover anything. And so things like that, they'll do contributory negligence, they'll do caps on damages. So they'll say, well, wait a second. No matter what happens, no matter how bad the conduct was, no matter how terrible the negligence, no matter how terrible the loss, meaning somebody died and they had 10 kids and they were the cornerstone of that family, holding the family down, supporting the family. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The maximum amount of money that somebody could get, it's going to be X. And that X is typically pretty low. It'd be $400,000, it'd be $1 million, it'd be some cap that is significantly below what a jury of that community would award for a loss of that magnitude. And so I have a better idea for you tort reformers. It sounds kind of crazy, so listen to me. You probably never heard of this. How about we just stop killing people through negligence? How about you just train your fucking people better so that they stop killing people, so that they stop destroying families, so that they stop catastrophically injuring and maiming people on the roads and otherwise, so that we don't have to do tort reform, so that we don't have to go to the legislature and ask them to help you to keep injuring and killing people. And instead, you can have a business model where you are responsible for your people and you're responsible for the training that you give them and you're responsible for the kind of workloads that you give them so that the roads are safe and we don't have to worry about getting killed or maimed on the roads because you don't feel like you need to spend the money on that and instead would rather spend the money on the legislature so that they can protect you against the will of the people anytime that your people kill and maim somebody through their negligence. How about that? I know it sounds kind of crazy. Probably never heard of it, but it's an idea. It's just an idea. So anyway, guys, that's it for now. I just want to let you know what tort reform is all about. And when you see it on the advertising, on the billboards and on the TV and news or whatever, it's like, oh, the plaintiff lawyers, they're doing this crazy stuff. The verdicts are out of control. Jurors are given millions of dollars. That's not reality. Reality is if a juror is given, or if a jury is given millions of dollars, that means that the injury that they were trying the case for was a catastrophic injury and or death, and that the company who caused the catastrophic injury and or death was not acting right. They were negligent. They should not have done what they did. And because as a direct consequence of being negligent, as a direct consequence of not doing what they were supposed to do or doing things that they were not supposed to do, somebody got killed or maimed catastrophically, and now there's a family out there who's hurting. So that's what that really means. And something else before I let you go, there's another aspect of this, that the insurance company or the trucking company, if they're self-insured, they almost always have the opportunity to settle the case before the trial for a significantly lower amount than what the jury says. So if you go out there and you see, a jury hit him for $20 million, they probably and almost always had the ability to settle that case for $4 million or $5 million or $6 million. But they didn't. They said, you know what, we even though we fucked up, we don't think we're liable. Come try this case, come see what the jury says. And then obviously when the jury says they need to pay $20 million instead of the $6 that they could have settled the case for, they get all upset and go to the media and start running ads about nuclear verdicts and how the big verdicts are going to ruin the trucking industry and other industries. So anyway, guys, that's it for now. I just figure I'd throw some truth out there so that you know exactly what's going on. When you hear this kind of stuff on TV, when people talk about tort reform and why tort reform is a good thing, tort reform is only a good thing for the big companies and the insurance companies and people who want to hurt people, maim people, and kill people without any consequences whatsoever. So if that's not you, tort reform is not good for you. All right, guys, that's it for now, and I'll catch you again next time.